Get ready. It's time for the Idaho Podcast with your host, Danny Ventura. Welcome to the Idaho Podcast, where we feature the people who live, work, and play in Idaho. Thanks so much for being with us today. My guest is Albert Liu, who is the owner of Audacious CrossFit, as well as a certified CrossFit trainer. Welcome to the show, Albert.
Thanks, Danny.
So you moved to Idaho from Southern California about 7 years ago. What brought you here, and what is your Idaho story?
One word, freedom.
Freedom. I love it.
I got to meet another coach and gym owner up here, and we got to see eye to eye on a lot of things. And we decided to, at some point, start our gym together. And I was in a place where I was working full time, seeing in that world, in the office world, where people were moving in a certain direction. And in my off hours, I was a part-time coach at the gym I was at. And I decided to maybe go in that direction instead. And this was the outlet to that, to do that.
But why Idaho, right? I see you want to leave Southern California, but
Yeah.
why Idaho?
There was a book written by an author named Joel Skousen. He wrote a book called Strategic Relocation. And he, in that book, would rate all the 50 states 1 to 5 stars, and 2 states that had 5 stars on it, Idaho and Utah. You can guess where California was. That was one factor. And then meeting the gym owner and a coach from up here, we met at another certification and just kind of kept in touch. And throughout the rest of the year of 2016, actually, that's when that question came up of just start this thing together. And once they said yes, I pulled my trigger on finding a place up here.
Oh, nice. And so far, so good. You're loving it here, and you're loving the people, the environment of Idaho, and everything that it has to offer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The people here are terrific. So what is, for those who may not know, what is CrossFit and what is pose method?
CrossFit is a core strength and conditioning program that prepares someone for the unknown and unknowable. So the word CrossFit just means constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity. It's a combination of doing cardio movements, anything that gets your heart and lungs moving, combined with gymnastics or body weight movements, any which way your body can move. And then from there, combine that with weightlifting or throwing. So taking any external object and manipulating it, and doing those in isolation or in combination to elicit the best neuroendocrine response, generating the most growth hormones and everything possible to not only heal, but also to grow and to thrive and adapt. And with the preparation that we do, it's a general physical preparedness program that prepares everyone, again, for anything that comes their way in their life, they can accomplish it at a certain good level.
And then the pose method?
I found pose method a way of instructing running, specifically, most popular in 2014, right about when I got my my level 1 training designation through CrossFit. And I learned about pose method through a CrossFit endurance course back then, and decided that, wow, this is mind-blowing. It changed my way of looking at what movement and running is. And I decided, let's start doing that for others too. So I got a certification in that through pose method specifically, to teach someone how to run, what running technique is.
Okay. So CrossFit is more cardio and some weight training, but the pose method is really specifically for running.
You got it.
So you recently gave a presentation on defining fitness and CrossFit, which you kind of just did. But what were the main points of that presentation? Was it what you shared, or is it more to it?
I would go straight to it, where fitness is defined as your work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So how much work can you do, or how much power can you exert in all kinds of time durations, from very short to very long, and anything in between, and in all kinds of modalities. So when I said modal domains, just means modalities, modes of movement, modes of transportation. You don't want to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The more power you can exert means either you can move more weight, move over a longer distance in a shorter amount of time. And all movements that we can boil down to those three variables. And if we improve those variables or the results that we get from our training, that means our fitness is improving, our work capacity is improving over time. And then what CrossFit is, so we're doing constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity to improve that fitness level. Mm-hmm. And that's what all these gyms around the world, CrossFit affiliates, which they are called, like mine, we bring people together to teach all these skills, these functional movements, and gradually improve them over time.
Mm-hmm. I know you also earned your degree in biological sciences, which is impressive. I mean, this is something you know scientifically and from a textbook perspective as well. But share your journey in finding, from not only from your degree, but also finding CrossFit and also being able to help runners do it the most efficient way.
Right. I went to UC Irvine, mm-hmm. graduated from there, biological sciences, started working at the company I was interning for when I was in my senior year. I was doing just basic lab work. That got old after 18 months. So I applied and went off to Air Force Officer Training School, OTS. Wow. So that required, all this application stuff, selection stuff, PT requirements as well. So when I knew I was being selected to go, I reached out to a college classmate. He was in Army ROTC back then at the school, a year younger than me. And I saw on Facebook back then, 2010, 11, 12, that he was doing this CrossFit for his ROTC stuff. And it was like, maybe that will work for me because I'm trying to become an officer too. So I reached out to him. Hey, tell me what this is. Maybe it'll help me. He goes, yes. All right, come over. Let's take a class sometime at his gym. Back then it was CrossFit Irvine. And I dropped into that class that day with him. There was a bunch of wall ball shots that we did. This crazy exercise, you throw a medicine ball at a wall and then squat. I got destroyed. So I knew, okay, I didn't do that to get in shape. So I did that for however many months leading up to April 2012 when I went off to training. So I used CrossFit to get in shape. It worked great, right? It maxed out my physical fitness assessment scores there, which was like push-ups and sit-ups and running. Unfortunately, it was like that few days after that test on that Friday night, I somehow developed an ulcer that opened up in my stomach. And then that required an emergency surgery. Cut me open, fixed me, and then I was basically medically discharged from there. So that career was cut short. Then from there, I went back home, recovered over the summer, and found a related job to the one I had before, right after college. So same industry, medical device industry. So I started working that full time, and then I just continued going to CrossFit Irvine after work. And then 2014 is when I decided to take the level 1 trainer course that CrossFit offered, and that started the whole coaching journey for me.
So it's a passion for you.
Right now, I think I would term it as my mission now.
That's even better.
Thank you.
But you take it personally for yourself as well. I mean, because you live it and you also coach it.
Yes.
So because you want it to be someone else's mission as well, it seems like.
Yes. I would say based on the surgery and injury I had, I knew I needed to figure out what I was thinking and doing in my life. Maybe the eating wasn't up to point. Movement was there, I think, for the most part. And I maybe held myself to too high of a standard in some things. And so I decided to use my time delving more deep into the fitness world to fix my gut, most importantly, and to prevent anything like that from happening again. Mm-hmm. And then from there, when I decided to become a trainer and help my coach out and intern with him, then seeing the benefits that I had, I could help others with that. Obviously, a lot of people maybe with other more extreme conditions, I can help even more.
Sure.
That's what I thought.
So Audacious CrossFit, are you there most of the time? So in other words, when you have classes, you're present. So you're coaching, you're helping. So you're kind of a trainer for people. I mean, maybe not one-on-one personal training, but you're kind of group training. Is that how it works?
Yes, both, I guess. So I see people one-on-one, typically first, before they join our groups. And that's the process I have to start people with. Yeah, I'm there coaching all the classes right now. I have a 6 a.m. class and a 5:30 p.m. class for people to get to their workout outside of work.
Sure. And then do you custom tailor based on age and also people's goals? For some people, it's going to be weight loss, right? Some people it's going to be sustained health. Others will be, everyone has a specific goal typically,
Right.
but sometimes it's just a lifestyle change and it has to be that way. And you custom tailor programs for each individual?
I do.
Hmm.
And because CrossFit at its core is infinitely scalable, that we say the needs of the Olympic athlete, pro athlete, it differs not by kind, but by degree.
Hmm.
So a Olympic athlete could be sprinting and lifting a bunch of heavy weight and all this stuff, right? But the movements they're doing, any other less capable person,
Hmm.
they're doing the same movements. They're maybe jogging and walking, covering some ground, but also lifting some type of weight, picking a medicine ball off the ground, and not that heavy barbell that this elite athlete is doing. So it's infinitely scalable. So in classes that I offer, the workout of the day is also broken down to different levels of where someone is at. What I said earlier about the onboarding process, I call it the Audacious assessment. Everyone goes through one-on-ones with me first 5 times to get through their fitness assessments. So I have 15 different categories of exercises, conditioning things, strength things that they find their individual level at. And there's 32 different levels for 15 categories. And we find each individual level of those prior to even starting a group. So when they start, they know their overall color or fitness. They could be a white, yellow, orange, blue, purple, brown, black, or red.
Okay.
Just like in martial arts.
Sure.
Belt.
Right. Hmm.
So once they know their rank, quote unquote, then they know how to take that workout a day and break it down to where their level is, and it's all broken down by colors. That's what's the customization part of it that you're asking me about.
So you can start at any point, right? You can be severely overweight. You can be never worked out a day in your life, and it's never too late to start. Today's the best day to start.
Exactly. A lot of people say the best day to start was yesterday,
Well, probably.
and that it's I said yeah, it's never too late, and you don't have to get in shape to do CrossFit.
Hmm.
By doing CrossFit, you get in shape.
There you go. Okay. Because I think that might be a misnomer, right? Because I know my son is very active in CrossFit and he's a stud. I mean, I'm pretty impressed by what he's capable of doing.
Mhm.
But when he explains it to me, it seems intimidating to me, CrossFit, because I've had a trainer. I enjoy working out, but the stuff he's like, he did 100 pull-ups. I said 100 pull-ups.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could do one. It sounds intimidating. So it's great for someone like me to hear that you can really start at any point and you can custom tailor to somebody as much of a knucklehead as I am. So that's good.
To give you an exact example of that, so call it pull-ups, right? That okay, what's prescribed is everyone's going to do 100 pull-ups today, but obviously you're not able to hang from the bar and get your chin over the bar yet. Then the version that you'll do is most likely I'm going to have you start with your feet on the box underneath the bar, with your legs bent and arms straight, and you're going to jump at the same time pull yourself with your arms over the chin over bar. So you have some assistance with the surface you're on to get you over that bar, to get that range of motion, we say, and that kind of a plane of motion. Yes.
That's great. We talked about your running technique of a pose method. And I know one of your specialties really, and it seems like a real heartbeat for you, is teaching running techniques for runners. Tell us a little bit about that. And again, do you take beginner runners, people who've never ran before, as well as folks who have been running for years?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What it boils down to is having someone do the least amount of work necessary to get that result that they want. And we teach people that they don't have to use their muscles in order to propel themselves, especially for running. They don't need to think about driving or pushing, exploding off the ground anymore. They don't need a knee drive anymore. They don't need a butt kick anymore. Um, it's about using the laws of nature. What is this right now? What we have in our current state is this magical force that exists all around of gravity. And we can utilize that gravity to our advantage to get the results we want. And that then, by allowing gravity to do the work for us, then the muscles just respond accordingly to that demand. They don't need to do more or less than what that specific objective is in mind. We teach them to do that.
You're also certified in nutrition. I
Yes.
think in two specific nutritional things, Precision Nutrition,
Yes.
as well as Dr. Mike T. Nelson's Flex Diet. Tell us more about those programs and explain also why nutrition is so important to overall fitness.
Sure. I was going to ask second question first about
Sure.
nutrition and how it relates to fitness. Nutrition is the foundation of our overall fitness and health. That we need to have the proper fuel that we're intaking to supply or to help with our energy systems and metabolisms we have in our body to power those different activities we talked about. So we have these high intensity anaerobic energy systems we have the lower intensity aerobic systems, and there's different fuels that supports that. And to be balanced or flexible in our metabolism, to tie in Dr. Mike T. Nelson's thing, we need to be metabolically flexible in being able to burn carbs and fat effectively, and maybe even switch between the two depending on the situation. And if we're eating carbs all the time, that means we're pretty effective at burning carbs. But on the flip side of that is maybe we are developing chronic conditions or diseases that maybe I had right back in the day that contributed to that. So if we're burning carbs all the time, we might not be as able to burn fat effectively. So it's about helping someone develop that flexibility over time through what the precision nutrition certification is about, is habit-based behavior change. Simple habits that I can coach someone through to help shift their nutrition, shift their diet, lifestyle habits, so that they get to their goals they want for better fitness, health overall. I think
seems practical.
It is,
because lifestyle's tough, especially when if you go out to dinner with friends, we have holidays and life happens. And sometimes I think when we're on diets, the most difficult thing is we have this idea that we have to deprive ourselves.
yes.
And I think this sounds practical. Then you also offer 6 criteria for being an effective trainer. And those 6 criteria, I'm going to read them here, is 1 is teaching, seeing, correcting, group and gym management, presence and attitude, and then finally demonstration. So elaborate on those 6 criteria and explain the why behind each one, please.
Those 6 criteria of a trainer came out of the CrossFit Level 2 trainer course that prepares Level 1 trainers to know how to handle and deliver that stimulus of the day, or the workout of the day for that in that one class. And it gives a trainer a template to follow in their development. So first, teaching whatever skills are called for that day in that class. Teaching someone how to do a pull-up, the progressions, the steps leading up to that pull-up. Teaching someone how to squat properly. Teaching someone how to deadlift properly. Just the actual mechanics of the skills that they need to. And then seeing, as in when they're live with that group, seeing everyone there in class, seeing everyone's movement and being able to identify that there are deviations from their technique, or their technique is on point. But from there, there's also correcting. The third one you said. It's identifying what's wrong or right, and then correcting back to that standard we're looking for, or the points of performance of that movement that are called for. So it comes down to either using verbal cues, visual cues, showing them what it should look like, or even tactile cues, getting there and putting their body parts in position for the specific movement they're doing. So there's a little hierarchy there of being able to cue someone up to get or to correct them back to that standard. And then from there, the gym and group management thing is having command, having presence. This fifth one, presence and attitude, command, knowing how to arrange the class logistically, essentially, to get to deliver that workout day effectively, efficiently, safely. Again, presence and attitude is just being there, being present, having command of the group. Finally, the demonstration. It's kind of goes in line with the teaching thing, but it's showing what it should look like. Leading by example. Practice. It's this constant practice of excellence,
right? The
pursuit of excellence. That I need to be demonstrating to others that I know what I should be looking for, but I know I can do it myself. So it shows up in the clients I'm helping as well.
It seems very organized and very deliberate, and I like that, and very structured. Which again, not so structured that there's not flexibility, but structured in that's where discipline comes from,
right?
And I think that's important. So
to add to that, the founder of CrossFit, Greg Glassman, back in the 70s when he put it all together as a kid. He was training to be a better gymnast. And throughout his formulation of what this is, he finally was able to train people at Gold's Gym, just renting space. He sought to professionalize the training space, sought to professionalize the fitness training space. And the 6 criteria kind of came out of that. I mean, I don't know if you do firearms at all, but on the firing line, like with your rifle or your handgun, that firearm instructor is right there behind you or to the side, like has complete command, right? Because it's a safety thing and ensure that your technique's on point. So the professional level, what that fire instructor is like, is basically what I see as like what our CrossFit trainers are trying to deliver on a day-to-day basis from class to class.
Mm-hmm. You were also featured author, along with a few other entrepreneur authors, in a book called Turning Points: How the Heart of Your Business is Formed in the Toughest of Times, which shares really the defining moments of successful entrepreneurs in their own words. And please give us kind of an abbreviated version of your particular story, because each chapter has a different entrepreneur sharing their turning point, their defining moment, if you will.
I would say I would look back at the job I had in the medical device industry. There was a certain point in there where I saw the corporate world not looking that good for me personally. And the opportunity came up when I told you earlier about the gym owner and coach up here about presenting the opportunity about coming up and running the show here. And I kind of came together at that point, that inflection point, telling me that, okay, I need to follow this. I need to assume a new mission at that point. And that was the turning point in me deciding, oh, I need to do my own thing and be free. I think that kind of says that, that's the turning point story I had in there.
So it's easy to say it, and you had a realization. How did you know how to do it?
Oh, so while I was working full time, I had created my own LLC through the city of Irvine as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I already found Postmethod, got certified, and decided to host another 6-week running technique training program through the city, and for adults and kids. You know, with those class catalogs you get in the mail,
sure,
right? And so I offered a course in there, and I just had an LLC that would support that, logistically. So I started my own business that way, and while working full time, doing my little thing on the side there, and then working part-time coaching evenings, off hours. That whole experience right there, I just took that really tiny small business thing and applied it up here. I combined all those experiences I had to come up here and do this. Hopefully that made sense.
No, it totally did. That's terrific. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay. And that's what I was trying to drive to. So how did you do it, right? It's one thing to realize it, but then what's next? How do you do it?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us hit, points of realization, but then we don't know how to take the next step. So it's good to hear that.
I got to read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I was working full time, like I said. I saved a bunch of money up because I was living at home commuting.
That's Robert Kiyosaki? Kiyosaki, right?
Yeah. So I took the lessons I learned from that book about cash flow and all that stuff, right? And because I had a bunch of money saved up, I just invested it in a property on Moreno Valley, Riverside County, and just rented that house out for cash flow. And that was like another little small business, I guess you could say, and used all that and springboard off that property, selling that, come up here and buy this place and start the gym out there.
Good for you. So we're at the place of the show where we always offer the tip of the show, and tip being the acronym for the Idaho Podcast, TIP. What is your tip for our listeners, Albert?
I would say do not force things. There's a Eastern philosophy, Chinese philosophy thing called Wu Wei. Have you heard of it?
No, Wu Wei.
Yeah. Essentially, it's effortless action. And if you, let's say, press against something, right, you're going to get some resistance back, right? And consider all the actions someone takes in their life, or the pursuits someone's want to engage in, or that they're trying really hard to do and accomplish this thing. Really, if you're trying too hard, you might get resistance back and might fall short. So it's about letting things happen, letting it all fall into place. organically, right? And tying it back to running, when we teach someone how to utilize the laws of nature and this magical force, we have to allow this motion, the movement of running, to happen. We fall into place, fall into the run, let free falling happen, and then just respond accordingly with our limbs, our legs specifically, our feet specifically. And if we just allow that action to happen, then we get the results we want. If we start forcing it by using our muscles too much, that's when we get hurt. That's when we get pain. And just tie back to another Chinese philosopher, his saying is basically, pain is the penalty for violating the principles of nature. So it's not resisting things. It's going with the flow, or being like water, like Bruce Lee said. Be like water. Right. So anyway, so I think that sums it up. That's sort of my tip.
Right? Don't force it.
Yes.
Wu Wei.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. What a terrific tip you offered there.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you being on the show. And for those who are interested in checking out what Albert has to offer, and I know he'll offer a free consultation, at least if you want to explore it, go check out audaciouscrossfit.com. Again, that's audaciouscrossfit.com. And you can reach him through there, and you'll also see all of his resources and everything he has to offer on the website as well. But any other way to reach you, or is that the best way?
Yeah, there's Instagram.
Okay, and you're on Instagram as well, under Audacious CrossFit?
Yes, sir.
At Audacious CrossFit. That's perfect.
Yep.
Again, Albert, thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and especially so much information on how to get fit, and that it's never too late. And like you said, yesterday was the best day to start, but today will work as well. And I love that the idea that you can custom tailor things to no matter where somebody is in their fitness journey, whether they're just doing it for the first time ever or they've been doing it all along. There's a plan forward for them, and you have a great program. It seems like that you can really custom tailor to their needs, and I really appreciate that. So
thank you. Thanks for your opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. And thank you for joining us today on the Idaho Podcast. Be sure to check us out on the idahopodcast.com to check out for our next guest and any other resources that we have up there. It changes all the time. And we really appreciate you following us and also checking us out every week. And please be sure to mention it to your friends and colleagues that the Idaho Podcast is available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So thanks again. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time. Take care.